My name is Laila. I'm 27 years old, and for most of my life, I believed blood was thicker than water. My sister Zara is 3 years older than me. Growing up, we were inseparable. People used to say we were more like best friends than sisters. We laughed together, shared secrets under our blanket at night, and swore we'd never betray one another, ever. But now, when I look at her face, I don't see my sister. I see the person who nearly ruined my life. It started 6 months ago when my father decided to retire and hand over the reins of our family jewelry business. It wasn't a massive empire, but it was respected, stable, and had been in our family for generations. Everyone assumed Zara would be the one to take over. She was older, confident, polished. But during a family dinner one night, my father shocked us all. "I want Laila to manage the business," he said, placing his hand gently on mine. "She's proven herself calm, fair, and loyal. The shop needs her kind of judgment." Zara's smile stayed frozen on her face, but I saw it, the flicker of rage behind her perfectly winged eyeliner. At first, she pretended to be supportive. She told me she was proud of me. She offered to help with inventory and customers, and even gave me ideas for online marketing. I was genuinely touched. I thought, despite the unexpected decision, she was still happy for me. But that was when everything started going wrong. First, small items began disappearing from the safe. A delicate emerald ring one week, a pair of diamond earrings the next. The inventory count never matched the system. I double-checked everything, confused and embarrassed. I even started to doubt myself. "You're just adjusting to the responsibility," Zara said sweetly, sipping her tea. "You always were forgetful, Laila. It's okay." Then came the bigger blow. One morning, I walked into the store and saw 2 police officers speaking with our store manager, Mr. Salim. They turned to me, their faces serious. "Are you Ms. Laila Siddiqui?" "Yes." "You'll need to come with us. You've been accused of theft and insurance fraud." I froze. My hands went cold. I looked around like it was some sort of prank, but their faces didn't change. Zara arrived 15 minutes later, gasping dramatically when she saw me in handcuffs. "There must be some mistake," she cried, holding my hand. "My sister would never, right, Laila?" But I saw it. That tiny glint of satisfaction in her eyes, the flicker she couldn't fully hide. At the station, they showed me CCTV footage. I nearly fell off the chair. It showed a woman, about my height, wearing my scarf, same shoes, entering the shop at 11:23 p.m. 2 nights before and removing items from the back storage. There was no clear face. But the movements were eerily similar to mine. The kicker? The system login showed my name. The alarm code was my birthday. I was numb. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My lawyer, a calm, older man named Advocate Nadim, whispered, "Someone close to you knows your habits, your patterns." This was planned. The police didn't arrest me officially, but they did confiscate my phone. My access to the shop was suspended, and worst of all, my parents looked unsure. "Laila, my mother said quietly that night. Please just tell us the truth if you're in some kind of trouble. That broke me. I sat in my room for hours, replaying everything in my mind. And suddenly, a memory clicked. 2 weeks before the break-in, Zara had asked for my phone to check something. I'd left it with her for 10 minutes while I went to make tea. She could have easily gone through my Notes app, where I had stored the alarm code and system login. I stood up, heart pounding. This wasn't a mistake. It was a setup. I started watching her closely. She'd be on calls I couldn't hear, whispering behind closed doors. One evening, I passed her room and overheard her arguing with someone. She's getting suspicious. No, I wiped everything. It's fine. I stepped back quietly. The next day, I went to the old security technician who had installed the cameras years ago, someone Zara didn't know. I asked him if the footage the police received could be tampered with. He hesitated, but then nodded. If someone copies the hard drive and replaces it with altered footage, yes, it's possible. I gave him the footage the police had shown me. He studied it for days. And what he found confirmed everything. This isn't raw footage, he said. There are splice marks, clean edits. Whoever did this knew what they were doing, but not enough to hide from a professional eye. I had proof the footage was fake. But it wasn't enough. I needed a confession. That's when I came up with the plan. Pushpin. My plan started with silence. I knew Zara thrived when others underestimated her. So I stopped protesting. I stopped arguing. I acted like I was defeated. I could almost see the satisfaction on her face every time I walked past her with my eyes lowered. She'd tilt her head with fake sympathy, like a queen comforting a servant. You look tired, Laila, she said one morning, sipping her smoothie. I hope you're not still stressing about everything. I smiled softly and nodded. Inside, I was boiling. My father had paused all business operations to sort things out. Our family's reputation was on the line, and Zara had just been appointed interim manager, a move I'm sure she suggested behind closed doors. Meanwhile, the technician, Mr. Safter, continued reviewing all surveillance backups, and my lawyer quietly filed an internal request to preserve the system logs and IP tracking data from the store's login system. But I still needed one thing, a confession. Something she couldn't wriggle out of. Something I could show my parents, my father's board, and even the police. And for that, I needed help. I reached out to someone Zara never liked. My cousin, Ariba. We were the same age, but growing up, Zara always said Ariba was too loud, too nosy, too much. What she really meant was Ariba saw through her. Zara's a manipulator, Laila. She's charming when it suits her and venomous when no one's looking. I had ignored Ariba's warnings for years. Not anymore. We met at a cafe downtown. Wow, Ariba said, blinking after I told her everything. She really did it. That which actually tried to ruin you. I need your help to trap her, I whispered. Ariba smiled, like I'd just handed her a gift. The plan was simple. Zara was clever, but she had one fatal flaw: vanity. She needed validation, praise, worship. She loved talking about her genius moves. So we created a character, Mariam Beg, a potential investor in our family business, supposedly sent by a jewelry investor group looking to expand in South Asia. Ariba played Mariam. Wig, glasses, accent, she looked unrecognizable. She booked a meeting through an official email I created, and Zara, of course, jumped at the chance. I watched from the cafe across the street, phone clenched in my hand, while Ariba, aka Mariam, met Zara inside the back office of our jewelry shop. I was nervous. Everything rested on what Zara would say. I needed her to brag, to slip, to confess. Ariba had a mic hidden in her coat button, feeding directly into my phone. "Miss Zara, thank you for meeting me on short notice," Ariba began politely. "Of course. When I heard your group was interested in elite female-led ventures, I knew this would be a perfect match," Zara replied, voice silky. They talked business for a while. Zara exaggerated numbers, painted herself as the true brain behind the shop. I could hear the pride dripping from every word. Then Ariba baited her. "And the recent scandal? With your sister? That must have been difficult." There was a pause. Then Zara laughed. "Oh, that," she scoffed. "Just a little cleanup job. My sister was never cut out for this. All heart, no brain." Ariba remained quiet. "Honestly, I did the business a favor," Zara continued. "We couldn't have her running things. She would have sunk it." "But weren't there legal issues?" "Please," Zara said, smug. "She's too naive to fight back. I used her logins, her codes, even wore her damn scarf for the camera. The girl practically handed me the keys to the castle." I froze. My fingers tingled. "So she didn't actually commit the fraud?" Ariba asked. "Of course not," Zara said. "But everyone believes she did. That's the brilliance of it." There it was. The confession. I hit record. The next step? The reveal. But I didn't want to go to the police first. No, I wanted her to feel what I felt. To watch the people who loved her turn away in disbelief. To see trust vanish from their eyes, the same way it had for me. So I waited until family dinner night. My parents, Zara, 2 aunts, an uncle, and some cousins all gathered in the dining room like they did every second Saturday. I hadn't attended since the scandal, but this time I arrived early. "Laila," my father said in surprise. "It's good to see you." Zara's face tightened. "You look brave," she said, like I was a child putting on lipstick. I just smiled. After dinner, I stood up and said, "I want to show everyone something. Just 5 minutes of your time." I plugged in my USB to the TV. The room dimmed. Everyone turned to watch. And then, Zara's voice filled the room. Her laughter. Her words. Her bragging. I used her logins, her codes, even wore her damn scarf for the camera. My mother gasped. My father's jaw clenched so tightly, I thought he might shatter a tooth. Zara jumped up. That's fake. That's AI. You edited this. Actually, I said, stepping forward, the full unedited audio is already with the police. As is the camera footage expert report. And the IP trail. And your fake login timestamps. You recorded me? No, I said calmly. You recorded yourself. Her face turned pale. The entire room was silent. Then my father stood up. Get out. Dad. Get out. Zara left the house that night, half shouting, half crying. But the performance was over. Her stage had collapsed. Pushpin. The moment Zara walked out of the house, the room remained dead silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Then, slowly, my father sat down, resting his elbows on the table and burying his face in his hands. My mother quietly picked up the glass of water next to her and held it with trembling fingers. How long have you known? She finally asked me, her voice barely above a whisper. Since the week after the accusation, I said. But I needed proof. Real proof. She nodded, her expression blank. The kind of blank that hides heartbreak too deep to show. The following morning, I went to the police station with my lawyer and handed over the full audio, the footage, the expert forensic report, and all documentation of Zara's actions. There were clear charges. Criminal fraud. Identity theft. Attempted defamation. And misuse of digital access. She had used company systems to forge records, redirect funds into a private account, and fake inventory loss. But I didn't stop there. I had learned one thing during those months of humiliation. If you want people to believe the truth, you have to scream it louder than the lie. So I arranged a press briefing. Not the typical flashy drama, no cameras, no revenge speech. Just a quiet release from my father's company, stating, Ms. Laila Hassan has been fully cleared of all accusations. An internal investigation has revealed fraudulent actions by another family member. Legal proceedings are underway. The moment that went live, my inbox exploded. Messages from clients, former classmates, journalists, even distant relatives who had quietly judged me when I went quiet now messaged. We always knew something was off. You're so brave. Proud of you. It was ironic. Everyone who had once doubted me now wanted to be on my side. But I didn't care for the attention. I cared for justice, and justice was still on its way. A week later, Zara was arrested. I wasn't there when the officers came to her apartment, but I did hear from Ariba, who had a friend at the local news station. She screamed, Ariba said on the phone, barely hiding her satisfaction. Said it was a mistake. Claimed she was being set up. Classic. I could picture it. The panic in her eyes. The fury behind her well-manicured face. The disbelief that her world, where she always got what she wanted, was collapsing. She was granted bail, but her passport was confiscated, and court proceedings were scheduled within the month. At the first hearing, I sat directly behind the prosecution. Zara looked tired, thinner, eyes puffy, makeup caked to hide what exhaustion couldn't. She wouldn't look at me. Her lawyer tried to argue that the confession was obtained through deceptive means, but the judge wasn't having it. Especially after the IP logs, timestamps, and her digital fingerprint matched every access point used for the fraudulent activities. Her fake investor transfer trail had been traced. Her login to the company portal using my credentials from her home Wi-Fi was documented. Even the camera footage from our store's internal system showed her entering with my scarf and badge on the night of the theft. The evidence was airtight. And yet, she tried to stall. Delay tactics. Emotional pleas. Claims of mental stress and family pressure. But the judge gave a firm date. Final judgment in 3 weeks. During those 3 weeks, Zara tried reaching out to me. Once through our mother, who begged me to hear her out. Once through email, where she wrote, "You made your point. Can we please settle this like sisters?" And once, shockingly, through Ariba, who sent me a voice note of Zara's message. Laila's always been dramatic. Just talk to her. I'll apologize if that's what she wants. Just tell her to drop the charges. Dramatic? After everything she'd done, the lies, the betrayal, the public humiliation? She wanted to wrap this up with a soft sorry? I didn't respond. Because for once, the law was speaking louder than me. And it had a lot to say. 3 days before the verdict, Zara's lawyer tried one last move, requesting a plea deal. In exchange for confessing and cooperating, she'd avoid jail time but face a massive fine, professional blacklisting, and community service. The court agreed, but only because the evidence was overwhelming. And I approved it, because I wanted her to walk free into a world that no longer believed her lies. Zara stood in court, voice barely audible, and said, "I fabricated financial records. I impersonated my sister's digital access. I manipulated internal systems. I am sorry." The courtroom was silent. But in my chest, I felt something click. Not happiness. Not even relief. Just release. She was banned from operating in any business sector for the next 10 years. She was ordered to pay back every cent she redirected, with interest. And she was required to write a public letter of apology, approved by the court, and publish it across every platform where she had previously defamed me. After the hearing, I stepped outside. The sun was shining. The air smelled like jasmine from the court's garden. A reporter tried to approach me, microphone in hand. "Miss Hassan, do you feel vindicated?" I smiled politely. "I feel free." Pushpin. After the court ruling, I didn't expect to hear from Zara again. Not after the damage, not after the lies, and certainly not after her court-ordered apology went live. But life has a cruel sense of humor. Exactly 2 weeks later, I received a handwritten letter. It came through our parents' house and was delivered to me in a plain envelope with my name written carefully across the front. It was from Zara. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. But I have nothing left to lose, and I need to say this, for you, for me, and maybe even for the child I never told you about. I froze. Child? She continued. 3 years ago, when I was dating Armin, I found out I was pregnant. But he didn't want the child. He left me. I miscarried a few months later. You were away on a business trip, and I never told anyone. I blamed you, irrationally, unfairly, for always being the one people trusted. For always being loved while I was tolerated. I hated that you never had to ask for attention. That's when something twisted in me. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just understanding. Even if from afar. I didn't cry. Not right away. I just sat there, reading her shaky handwriting over and over again. This didn't undo what she did. It didn't erase the humiliation, the betrayal, the years of rivalry that exploded into outright cruelty. But it did explain the kind of pain I had never seen behind her forced smiles. That weekend, I visited our parents for dinner. The atmosphere was still awkward, my mother remained tense, as if walking on emotional glass. My father had aged more in the last 6 months than in the last 6 years. We ate in silence for a while, until my father gently said, "Your sister is moving to Faisalabad. Her name is Mud here. She asked us not to tell you. But you deserve to know." I nodded. I got her letter. My mother's eyes welled up. She ruined so much, Laila. But she's still my daughter. I know, I replied quietly. And I'm still yours too. That evening, we didn't resolve everything. But we took a step. And that was enough. Back at the company, I returned to work. But this time as vice president of operations. My father had stepped down, quietly, perhaps out of shame or simply exhaustion. But he did so with grace, and publicly cleared my name again in front of the entire board. Laila has not only proven her innocence but has shown integrity, strength, and strategic wisdom under fire. If there's anyone who deserves to lead this company into the next decade, it's her. For the first time, I felt seen. Not just as the daughter of the founder, but as my own person. Clients returned. Staff respected me. And even the ones who had once doubted me started to treat me differently, as if I'd been tested and passed. 3 months later, I received a strange message on LinkedIn. "Hi Laila. You don't know me, but I was one of the fake investors Zara spoke to. She promised me shares in your father's company. I believed her. I'm sorry. I lost money. But I've read about what you did, and I just wanted to say, you're incredible. Rayhan Ahmed. Former angel investor, now consultant." I smiled. Even strangers saw what my own sister never could. A few months after that, something even more unexpected happened. I was invited to speak at a Women in Business Leadership Summit in Islamabad. It was surreal. Me, the girl once publicly shamed for embezzling money, now speaking on stage about resilience, recovery, and the power of truth. I ended my talk with, "People will try to destroy you quietly. But if your truth is louder than their lies, you won't just survive. You'll rise." The applause that followed wasn't for what I'd been through. It was for who I'd become despite it. And Zara? She moved. She vanished from the public eye. I heard whispers that she took a teaching job under a different name. Some said she tried starting a bakery. Others claimed she left the country. But I didn't chase answers. Not anymore. Because the truth had already spoken. And I had already won. Sad face. My name is Laila Hassan. I was framed by my own sister. But I didn't just clear my name. I reclaimed my story. And now, I tell it to help women like me remember that silence isn't strength. Truth is.